The Battle of Blenheim by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. It was a summer's evening. Old Caspar's work was done, and he, before his cottage door, was sitting in the sun. And near him sported on the green his little grandchild, Wilhelmine. She saw her brother, Peterkin, roll something smooth and round, which he, beside the rivulet, in playing there had found. He came to ask what he had found, which looked so large and smooth and round. Old Caspar took it from the lad, who stood expecting by. And then the old man shook his head, and with a natural sigh, "'Tis some poor fellow's skull," said he, "who fell in the great victory. I find them in the garden, there are many hereabout, and often when I go to plough, the ploughshare turns them out. For many thousand men," said he, "were slain in the great victory." "Now tell us what it was about, young Peterkin," he cries, and little Wilhelmine looked up with wonder-waiting eyes. "Now tell us all about the war, and what they killed each other for." "It was the English," Caspar cried, "who put the French to rout, but what they killed each other for I never could find out. But things like this, you know, must be in every famous victory. My father had a cottage then, yon little stream hard by. They burnt his dwelling to the ground, and he was forced to fly. So with his wife and child he fled, and had not where to lay his head. They burnt the country all around, and wasted far and wide, and many a tender mother then and newborn infant died. But things like this, you know, must be at every famous victory. Great praise the Duke of Marlborough won, and our good Prince Eugene. But 'twas a very wicked thing," said little Wilhelmine. "Nay, nay, my little girl," said he, "it was a famous victory." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
How do you find this book? Any thoughts about the book or the author? Any suggestion for improvement? Please take a moment to share your thoughts in a comment. If you like it, share it with your friends who might enjoy it as well. Subscribe to keep in touch. Visit CompleteAudiobooks.com for more quality content.
The Bride of Corinth by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, translated by John Anster, read for LibriVox.org by phone. To Corinth a young stranger came from Athens, though himself unknown, relying on his father's name, nor hospitable ties alone secured him a Corinthian friend, for, plighted by his father's vows, he longed to see his plighted spouse, and hence his journey's aim and end. But will the stranger welcome be, or must her love be dearly bought? Alas, a heathen still is he, and they the Christian faith are taught. And when new forms of faith arise, how soon love's tender blossom dies, without a sigh, without a thought. The house in midnight silence lies, father and daughters all at rest. Sleep only shuns the mother's eyes, she rises to receive the guest. She leads him to a chamber bright, and wine and bread before him led. She bows and wishes him good night. He thought not of the wine and bread, he only felt a wish for rest. At once he flung him on the bed. His weary limbs scarce feel repose, when hush, the chamber doors unclose, and in there steals a timid guest. He wakes, and by the lamp's faint light, behold a maiden tall and fair. Her veil is white, her robes are white, black as the band that twines her hair. 'Tis black, but streaked with lines of gold. She screams and shudders to behold the stranger youth reclining there, and, lifting her white arm in the air, exclaims, "Then am I nothing here? Guests come and go, and none tells me. Dark is my chamber, lone and drear, and here to come is infamy. To wander here is scathe and shame. Sleep on, young stranger, quietly, and I will vanish as I came." "Stay," cries the youth, "stay, maiden dear," as lightly from the couch springs he. "Ceres and Bacchus, lo, are here, and love, sweet maid, hath come with thee. Ah, thou art pale with idle fear, The gods are good, and blessed are we. Away, young man, stand far away. What pleasure is, I feel not now. Joy hath for ever fled from me, scared by a mother's gloomy vow. She feared to die, my youthful bloom, my hopes of love, her stern decree hath destined to a living tomb. Our ancient gods no longer deign in this dull mansion to reside, but one in heaven whom we in vain would seek to see, and one who died, are worshipped with sad rites severe. No offering falls of lamb or steer, but human victims suffer here. He ponders with a trembling heart each word that falls upon his ear. And art thou then, ah, sure thou art my plighted spouse, that meets me here. Be mine, my love, our father's vow hath blessed our loves, be mine even now. Have they not told thee then, she cried, that I thy consort may not be? My sister is thy destined bride, but in her arms, ah, think of me! Who in my cell will think of thee, who pine and die with love of thee, the cold earth soon my woes will hide. No, never, by this lamp I swear, that glowing emblems Heaven's torch, thou shalt not perish thus from me. Oh, we will seek my father's porch, and from this home of sorrow flee. Be mine, my love, be mine tonight, tomorrow's sun will guide our flight. She reached to him a chain of gold, of deathless love a token fair. He reached to her a silver cup, adorned with gravings rich and rare. The cup, my love, I may not take, but give me, for thine own dear sake, one only ringlet of thy hair. Damp strikes the hour that spirits know, her eyes with eager pleasure shine, her cheek assumes a sparkling glow, her pale lips quaff the blood-red wine. But vainly may the youth entreat, the wheaten bread she will not eat. She reached the wine-cup to his hand, like her with eager joy he drinks. He speaks to her with words of love, on love alone he thinks. No words have charms her breast to move, in tears upon the bed he sings. She leans above him o'er the couch. Thy pangs I mourn, but cannot heal. What, ha! My limbs have met thy touch, and tell thee what I would conceal. White, white as snow, cold, cold as sleet, is she whose love thou dost entreat. He strains her in his closing arm, with strength that youth and passion gave. Cold as thou art, thy blood shall warm, even if thy dwelling were the grave. With frenzied clasp of wild desire, he strains her to his breast of fire. Strange was, I ween, that bridal scene, for with their kisses mingled tears. But what is coldness, what are fears, while in her lover's bosom pressed, the blood that stirs in his veins warms hers, but oh, no heart throbs in her breast. Without the door the mother stood, that under voice what may it be, she knows not, and she lingers there, she listens long and anxiously. Oh, is it that she hears aright, voices like lovers, low and light? Breathless she stands and motionless, till of these low words satisfied, the vows of lisping tenderness, the words of lover and of bride. Hark, the cock crows, they soon will shine. Tomorrow night again, my love, tomorrow night thou wilt be mine. The mother hears no more, in wrath she bursts into the stranger's room. And is there in my house a maid thus shameless, who can thus presume a passing stranger's love to woo? Thus thinks she angrily, when, lo, by the lamp's decaying glow, her own, her daughter meets her view. In the first impulse of his fear he strove to hide the maiden's face. In vain he drew the curtain's fold, in vain he strove her veil to place. Still from his reaching hand she rose, tall and more tall her stature grows. O mother, mother, hollow sounds, unearthly formed each fearful word. Thou enviest me this bridal night, these few short moments of delight. To pain am I again restored. And is it not enough that I for thee in funeral pall should lie? for thee in youth should fade and die. Me, from my narrow silent bed, hither a wondrous doom hath driven. Your priests their ritual song have said, but oh, it hath no weight in heaven. Your chants and charms from woman's heart, its fervor, oh, can they remove? The grave is cold, but chills not love. I was his doomed and destined bride in days while Venus's fane still stood. But ye your former vows belied, and sealed your late learned creed in blood. Alas, no heavenly power stood by, when thou didst doom thy child to die. And hither from the grave I roam, to seek the joys denied in life. Hither to seek my spouse I come, to drain his veins, a vampire wife. He dies, nor his alone the doom, for I must go, thus, to and fro. Night after night I leave my tomb. 'Tis over, lovely youth, the pain is on thee, that must end in death. Round thee still hangs my fatal chain, thy ringlet I must bear beneath. Ay, gaze upon it, blanched and grey, at dayrise will thy brown locks be, but in our own heaven far away bloom love and joy, oh come with me. Hear, mother, hear our last request, build high for us a funeral pile. Oh, from that narrow cell released, my spirit shall rejoicing smile. And when the embers fall away, and when the funeral flames arise, we'll journey to a home of rest, our ancient gods, our ancient skies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The British Bather by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The British Bather by a Dipper in Brittany. Mrs. Grundy rules the waves, with Britons for her slaves. They're fearful to disport themselves, unless the sexes sort themselves, and take their bathing sadly, for French gaiety depraves. 'Tis time no more were seen the out-of-date machine. Away with that monstrosity of prudish ponderosity. Why can't we have the bathing tent, or else the trim cabine? I think we should advance, if we took a hint from France, and mingled quite decorously on beaches that before us lie, all round our coasts. We do abroad whenever we get the chance. Over here in Saint-Malo the thing's quite comme il faut. Why not in higher latitude? I can't make out the attitude of those who make the British dip so shocking, dull, and slow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Carpe Diem by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org. O mistress mine, where are you roaming? O stay and hear your true love's coming, that can sink both high and low. Trip no further, pretty sweeting, journeys end in lovers' meeting. Every wise man's son doth know. What is love? 'Tis not hereafter. Present mirth hath present laughter. What's to come is still unsure. In delay there lies no plenty. Then come kiss me, sweet and twenty. Youth's stuff will not endure. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Compensation by Frances Ridley Havergal. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Oh, the compensating springs! Oh, the balance wheels of life, hidden away in the workings under the seeming strife, slowing the fret and the friction, waiting the whirl and the force, evolving the truest power from each unconscious source. How shall we gauge the whole, who can only guess a part? How can we read the life, when we cannot spell the heart? How shall we measure another, we who can never know from the juttings above the surface the depth of the vein below? Even our present way is unknown to ourselves alone. Height and abyss and torrent, flower and thorn and stone, but we gaze on another's path, as a far-off mountain seen, scanning the outlined hills, but never the vales between. How shall we judge the present, we who have never seen that which is past forever, and that which might have been? Measuring by ourselves, unwise indeed are we, measuring what we know by what we can hardly see. Ah, if we knew at all, we should surely understand that the balance of sorrow and joy is held with an even hand, that the scale of success or loss shall never overflow, and that compensation is twined with the lot of high and low. The easy path in the lowland hath little of grand or new, but a toilsome ascent leads on to a wide and glorious view. Peopled and warm is the valley, lonely and chill is the height, but the peak that is nearer the storm cloud is nearer the stars of light. Launch on the foaming stream that bears you along like a dart. There is danger of rapid and rock, there is tension of muscle and heart. Glide on the easy current, monotonous, calm, and slow. You are spared the quiver and strain in the safe and quiet flow. Oh, the sweetness that dwells in a harp of many strings, while each, all vocal with love, in tuneful harmony rings. But oh, the wail and the discord, when one and another is rent, tensionless, broken, or lost from the cherished instrument. For rapture of love is linked with the pain of fear and loss, and the hand that takes the crown must ache with many a cross. Yet he who hath never a conflict hath never a victor's palm, and only the toilers know the sweetness of rest and calm. Only between the storms can the Alpine traveller know transcendent glory of clearness, marvels of gleam and glow. Had he the brightness unbroken of cloudless summer days, this had been dimmed by the dust and veil of a brooding haze. Who would bear the choice, neither or both to know, the finest quiver of joy or the agony thrill of woe? Never the exquisite pain, then never the exquisite bliss, for a heart that is dull to that can never be strung to this. Great is the peril or toil if the glory or gain be great. Never an earthly gift without responsible weight. Never a treasure without a following shade of care. Never a power without the lurk of a subtle snare. For the swift is not the safe, and the sweet is not the strong. The smooth is not the short, and the keen is not the long. The much is not the most, and the wide is not the deep, and the flow is never a spring, when the ebb is only neap. Then hush, oh hush, for the Father knows what thou knowest not. The weed and the thorn and the shadow lurked with the fairest lot, knows the wisest exemption from many an unseen snare, knows what will keep thee nearest, knows what thou couldst not bear. Hush, oh hush, for the Father portioneth as he will to all his beloved children, and shall they not be still? Is not his will the wisest? Is not his choice the best? And in perfect acquiescence is there not perfect rest? Hush, oh hush, for the Father, whose ways are true and just, knoweth and careth and loveth, and waits for thy perfect trust. The cup he is slowly filling shall soon be full to the brim, and infinite compensations forever be found in him. Hush, oh hush, for the Father hath fullness of joy in store, treasures of power and wisdom, and pleasures for evermore, blessing and honor and glory, endless infinite bliss. Child of his love and his choice, oh canst thou not wait for this? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Diwan of Abu'l-Ala, translated by Henry Berline. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Abandon worship in the mosque and shrink from idle prayer, from sacrificial sheep, for destiny will bring the bowl of sleep, or bowl of tribulation. You shall drink. The scarlet eyes of morning are pursued by night, who growls along the narrow lane, but as they crash upon our world, the twain devour us and are strengthened for the feud.
Vain are your dreams of marvellous emprise, vainly you sail among uncharted spaces, vainly seek harbour in this world of faces, if it has been determined otherwise. Behold, my friends, there is reserved for me the splendour of our traffic with the sky. You pay your court to Saturn, whereas I am slain by one far mightier than he. You that must travel with a weary load along this darkling, labyrinthine street, have men with torches at your head and feet, if you would pass the dangers of the road. So shall you find all armour incomplete and open to the whips of circumstance. That so shall you be girdled of mischance till you be folded in the winding sheet. Have conversation with the wind that goes, bearing a pack of loveliness and pain, the golden exaltation of the grain, and the last, sacred whisper of the rose. But if in some enchanted garden bloom the rose imperial that will not fade, ah! Shall I go with desecrating spade, and underneath her glories build a tomb? Shall I, that am as dust upon the plain, think with unloosened hurricanes to fight? Or shall I, that was ravished from the night, fall on the bosom of the night again? Endure, and if you rashly would unfold that manuscript whereon our lives are traced, recall the stream which carols through the waste, and in the dark is rich with alien gold. Myself did linger by the ragged beach, whereat wave after wave did rise and curl, and as they fell, I saw them hurl a message far more eloquent than speech. We that with song our pilgrimage beguile, with purple islands which a sunset bore, we, sunk upon the sacrilegious shore, may parley with oblivion awhile. I would not have you keep, nor idly flaunt what may be gathered from the gracious land, but I would have you sow with sleepless hand the virtues that will balance your account. The days are dressing all of us in white for him who will suspend us in a row. But for the sun there is no death. I know the centuries are morsels of the night. A deed magnanimous, a noble thought, are as the music singing through the years, when surly time the tyrant domineers against the lute whereout of it was wrought. Now to the Master of the world resign whatever touches you, what is prepared, for many sons of wisdom are ensnared, and many fools in happiness recline. Long have I tarried where the waters roll from undeciphered caverns of the main, and I have searched in vain, where I could drown the sorrows of my soul. If I have harboured love within my breast, 'twas for my comrades of the dusty day, who with me watched the loitering stars at play, who bore the burden of the same unrest. For once the witcheries a maiden flung, then afterwards I knew she was the bride of death, and as he came, so tender-eyed, I rebuked him roundly, being young. Yet if all things that vanish in their noon are but the part of some eternal scheme, of what the nightingale may chance to dream, or what the lotus murmurs to the moon, have I not heard sagacious ones repeat an irresistibly grim argument, that we, for all our blustering content, are as the silent shadows at our feet? Aye, when the torch is low and we prepare beyond the notes of revelry to pass, Old silence will keep watch upon the grass, the solemn shadows will assemble there. No sultan at his pleasure shall erect a dwelling less obedient to decay than I, whom all the mysteries obey, build with the twilight for an architect. Dark leans to dark. The passions of a man are twined about all transitory things, for verily the child of wisdom clings more unto dreamland than Arabistan. Death leans to death, nor shall your vigilance prevent him from whate'er he would possess, nor, brother, shall unfilial peevishness prevent you from the grand inheritance. Farewell, my soul, bird in the narrow jail who cannot sing. The door is opened, fly. Ah, soon you stop, and looking down you cry the saddest song of all, poor nightingale. Our fortune is like mariners to float amid the perils of dim waterways. Shall then our seamanship have aught of praise if the great anchor drags behind the boat? Ah, let the burial of yesterday be ruthlessly decreed, and, if you will, refuse the mourner's reed, and, if you will, plant cypress in the way. As little shall it serve you in the fight if you remonstrate with the storming seas, as if you querulously sigh to these of some imagined haven of delight. Steed of my soul, when you and I were young, we lived to cleave as arrows through the night. Now there is ta'en from me the last of light, and wheresoe'er I gaze a veil is hung. No longer as a wreck shall I be hurled where beacons lure the fascinated helm, for I have been admitted to the realm of darkness that encompasses the world. Man has been thought superior to the swarm of ruminating cows, of witless foals who, crouching when the voice of thunder rolls, are banqueted upon a thunderstorm. But shall the fearing eyes of humankind have peeped beyond the curtain and excel the boldness of a wandering gazelle, or of a bird imprisoned in the wind? Ah, never may we hope to win release before we that unripeness overthrow. So must the corn in agitation grow before the sickle sings the songs of peace. Lo, there are many ways and many traps and many guides, and which of them is Lord? For verily Mahomet has the sword, and he may have the truth, perhaps. Now this religion happens to prevail until by that religion overthrown, because men dare not live with men alone, but always with another fairy tale. Religion is a charming girl, I say, but over this poor threshold will not pass, for I may not unveil her, and alas, the bridal gift I can't afford to pay. I have imagined that our welfare is required to rise triumphant from defeat, and so the musk, which as the more you beat, gives ever more delightful fragrancies. For as a gate of Sorrowland unbars the region of unfaltering delight, so may you gather from the fields of night that harvest of diviner thought, the stars. Send into banishment whatever blows across the waves of your tempestuous heart, let every wish save Allah's wish depart, and you will have ineffable repose. My faith it is that all the wanton pack of living shall be, hush, poor heart, withdrawn, as even to the camel comes a dawn without a burden for his wounded back. If there should be some truth in what they teach of unrelenting Munkar and Nakir, before whose throne all buried men appear, then give me to the vultures, I beseech. Some yellow sand all hunger shall assuage, and for my thirst no cloud have need to roll, and the drooping bird which is my soul no longer shall be prisoned in the cage. Life is a flame that flickers in the wind, a bird that crouches in the fowler's net, nor may between her flutterings forget that hour the dreams of youth were unconfined. There was a time when I was fain to guess the riddles of our life, when I would soar against the cruel secrets of the door, so that I fell to deeper loneliness. One is behind the draperies of life, one who will tear these tanglements away, no dark assassin, for the dawn of day leaps out as leapeth laughter from the knife. If you will do some deed before you die, remember not this caravan of death, but have belief that every little breath will stay with you for an eternity. Astrologers, give ear to what they say. The stars be words, they float on heaven's breath, and faithfully reveal the days of death, and surely will reveal that longer day. I shook the trees of knowledge. The fruit was fair upon the bleakness of the soil. I filled 100 vessels with my spoil, and then I rested from the grand pursuit. Alas! I took me servants. I was proud of prose and of the neat, the cunning rhyme, but all their inclination was the crime of scattering my treasure to the crowd. And yet, this very seed I throw may rise aloft, a brother of the bird, uncaring if his melodies are heard, or shall I not hear anything below? The glazier out of sounding Erzerum frequented us and softly would conspire upon our broken glass with blue-red fire, as one might lift a pale thing from the tomb. He was the glazier out of Erzerum, whose wizardry would make the children cry. There will be no such wizardry when I am broken by the chariot wheels of doom. The chariot wheels of doom! Now hear them roll across the desert and the noisy mart, across the silent places of your heart. Smile on the driver you will not cajole. I never look upon the placid plain, but I must think of those who lived before, and gave their quantities of sweat and gore, and went, and will not travel back again. Ay, verily, the fields of blandishment, where shepherds meditate among their cattle, those are the direst of the fields of battle, for in the victor's train there is no tent. Where are the doctors who were nobly fired and loved their toil because we ventured not, who spent their lives in searching for the spot to which the generations have retired? Great is your soul. These are the words they preach. It passes from your framework to the frame of others, and upon this road of shame turns purer and more pure. Oh, let them teach! I look on men as I would look on trees that may be writing in the purple dome romantic lines of black, and are at home where lie the little garden hostelries. Live well. Be wary of this life, I say. Do not o'erload yourself with righteousness. Behold, the sword we polish in excess, we gradually polish it away. God who created metal is the same who will devour it. As the warriors ride with iron horses and with iron pride, come, let us laugh into the merry flame. But for the grandest flame our God prepares the breast of man, which is the grandest urn. Yet is that flame so powerless to burn those butterflies, the swarm of little cares. And if you find a solitary sage who teaches what is truth, then you find the Lord of men, the guardian of the wind, the victor of all armies and of age. See that procession passing down the street, the black and white procession of the days. Far better dance along and bawl your praise than if you follow with unwilling feet. But in the noisy ranks you will forget what is the flag. O comrade, fall aside, and think a little moment of the pride of yonder sun, think of the twilight's net. The songs we fashion from our new delight are echoes. When the first of men sang out, he shuddered, hearing not alone the shout of hills, but of the peoples in the night. And all the marvels that our eyes behold are pictures. There has happened some event for each of them, and this they represent. Our lives are like a tale that has been told. There is a palace, and the ruined wall divides the sand, a very home of tears, and where love whispered of 1,000 years, the silken-footed caterpillars crawl. And where the prince commanded, now the shriek of wind is flying through the court of state. Here, it proclaims, there dwelt a potentate, who could not hear the sobbing of the weak. Beneath our palaces the cornerstone is quaking. What of noble we possess, in love or courage or in tenderness, can rise from our infirmities alone. We suffer, that we know, and that is all our knowledge. If we recklessly should strain to sweep aside the solid rocks of pain, then would the domes of love and courage fall. But there is one who trembles at the touch of sorrow less than all of you, for he has got the care of no big treasury, and with regard to wits not over much. I think our world is not a place of rest, but where a man may take his little ease, until the landlord, whom he never sees, gives that apartment to another guest. Say that you come to life as 'twere a feast, prepared to pay whatever is the bill, of death or tears, or surely, friend, you will not shrink at death, which is among the least. Rise up against your troubles, cast away what is too great for mortal man to bear, but seize no foolish arms against the share which you, the piteous mortal, have to pay. Be gracious to the king. You cannot feign that nobody was tyrant, that the sword of justice always gave the just award before these Ghassanites began to reign. You cultivate the ranks of golden grain, he cultivates the cavaliers. They go with him careering on some other foe, and your battalions will be staunch again. The good law and the bad law disappear below the flood of custom, or they float, and, like the wonderful serabi coat, they captivate us for a little year. God pities him who pities. Ah, pursue no longer now the children of the wood, or have you not, poor huntsman, understood that somebody is overtaking you? God is above. We never shall attain our liberty from hands that overshroud. Or can we shake aside this heavy cloud more than a slave can shake aside the chain? There is no God save Allah, that is true, nor is there any prophet save the mind of man who wanders through the dark to find the paradise that is in me and you. The rolling, ever-rolling years of time are as a Diwan of Arabian song. The poet, headstrong and supremely strong, refuses to repeat a single rhyme. An archer took an arrow in his hand, so fair he sent it singing to the sky, that he brought justice down from, so high. He was an archer in the morning land. The man who shot his arrow from the west made empty roads of air, yet have I thought, our life was happier until we brought this cold one of the skies to rule the nest. Run, follow, follow happiness, the maid whose laughter is the laughing waterfall. Run, call to her. But if no maiden call, 'tis something to have loved the flying shade. You strut in piety the while you take that pilgrimage to Mecca. Now beware, for starving relatives befoul the air, and curse, O fool, the threshold you forsake. How man is made! He staggers at the voice, the little voice that leads you to the land of virtue, but on hearing the command to lead a giant army, will rejoice. Behold the cup whereon your slave has trod. That is what every cup is falling to. Your slave, remember that he lives by you, while in the form of him we bow to God. The lowliest of the people is the Lord, who knows not where each day to make his bed, whose crown is kept upon the royal head by that poor naked minister, the sword. Which is the tyrant, say you? Well, 'tis he that has the vine leaf strewn among his hair, and will deliver countries to the care of courtesans. But I am vague, you see. The dwellers of this city will oppress your days, the lion, a fight-thirsty fool, the fox who wears the robe of men that rule. So run with me towards the wilderness. Our wilderness will be the laughing land where nuts are hung for us, where nodding peas are wild enough to press about our knees, and water fills the hollow of our hand. My village is the loneliness, and I am as the travellers through the Syrian sand, that for a moment see the warning hand of one who breasted up the rock, their spy. Where is the valiance of the folk who sing these valiant stories of the world to come, which they describe, forsooth, as if it swum in air and anchored with a yard of string? Two merchantmen decided they would battle to prove at last who sold the finest wares, and while Mahomet shrieked his call to prayers, the true Messiah waved his wooden rattle. Perchance the world is nothing, is a dream, and every noise the dreamland people say we sedulously note, and we and they may be the shadows flung by what we seem. Zahir the poet sang of loveliness, which is the flight of things. Oh, meditate upon the sorrows of our earthly state, for what is lovely we may not possess. Hi-oh! The splendid air is full of wings, and they will take us to the... Friend, be wise, for if you navigate among the skies, you too may reach the subterranean kings. Now fear the rose. You travel to the gloom of which the roses sing, and sing so fair, and, but for them, you'd have a certain share in life, your name be read upon the tomb. There is a tower of silence, and the bell moves up, another man is made to be. For certain years they move in company, but you, when fails your song, do fail as well. No sword will summon death, and he will stay for neither helm nor shield his falling rod. We are the crooked alphabet of God, and he will read us ere he wipes away. How strange that we, perambulating dust, should be the vessels of eternal fire, that such unfading passion of desire should be within our fading bodies thrust. Deep in a silent chamber of the rose there was a fattened worm. He looked around, espied a relative, and spoke at him. It seems to me this world is very good. A most unlovely world, said Brother Worm, for all of us are piteous prisoners. And if, declared the first, your thought is true, and this a prison be, me likes it well. So well that I shall weave a song of praise and thankfulness, because the world was wrought for us, and with such providential care. My brother, I will shame you into singing. Then, cried the second, I shall raise a voice and see what poor apologies are made. And so they sang, these two, for many days, and while they sang, the rose was beautiful. But this affected not the songful ones, and evermore in beauty lived the rose. And when the worms were old and wiser too, they fell to silence and humility. A night of silence! 'Twas the swinging sea, and this our world of darkness. And the twain rolled on below the stars. They flung a chain around the silences which are in me. The shadows come, and they will come to bless their brother and his dwelling and his fame, when I shall soil no more with any blame or any praise the silence I possess. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Gentleman of Oxford by Nora M. Holland. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. The sunny streets of Oxford are lying still and bare. No sound of voice or laughter rings through the golden air. And, chiming from her belfry, no longer Christ Church calls the eager boyish faces to gather in her halls. The colleges are empty, only the sun and wind make merry in the places the lads have left behind. But when the trooping shadows have put the day to flight, the gentlemen of Oxford come homing through the night. From France they come, and Flanders, from Mons and Marne and Aisne, from Greece and from Gallipoli they come to her again. From the North Sea's grey waters, from many a grave unknown, the gentlemen of Oxford come back to claim their own. The dark is full of laughter, boy laughter, glad and young. They tell the old-time stories, the old-time songs are sung. They linger in her cloisters, they throng her dewy meads, till Isis hears their calling and laughs among her reeds. But when the east is whitening to greet the rising sun, and slowly over Carfax the stars fade one by one, then when the dawn wind whispers along the Isis shore, the gentlemen of Oxford must seek their graves once more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Green Linnet by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. Beneath these fruit tree boughs that shed their snow-white blossoms on my head, with brightest sunshine round me spread of spring's unclouded weather, in this sequestered nook, how sweet to sit upon my orchard seat, and flowers and birds once more to greet, my last year's friends together. One have I marked, the happiest guest in all this covert of the blest. Hail to thee, far above the rest, in joy of voice and pinion. Thou, linnet, in thy green array, presiding spirit here today, dost lead the revels of the May, and this is thy dominion. While birds and butterflies and flowers make all one band of paramours, thou, ranging up and down the bowers, art sole in thy employment. A life, a presence like the air, scattering thy gladness without care, too blessed with any one to pair, thyself thy own enjoyment. Amid yon tuft of hazel trees, that twinkle to the gusty breeze, behold him perched in ecstasies, yet seeming still to hover. There, where the flutter of his wings upon his back and body flings shadows and sunny glimmerings that cover him all over. My dazzled sight he oft deceives, a brother of the dancing leaves, then flits, and from the cottage eaves pours forth his song and gushes, as if by that exulting strain he mocked and treated with disdain the voiceless form he chose to feign, while fluttering in the bushes. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Holy Sonnet XIV by John Donne. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Batter my heart, three-personed God, for you, as yet but knock, breathe, shine, and seek to mend, that I may rise and stand, o'erthrow me, and bend your force to break, blow, burn, and make me new. I, like a usurped town to another due, labor to admit you, but oh, to no end. Reason your viceroy in me should defend, but is captived, and proves weak or untrue. Yet dearly I love you, and would be loved fain, but am betrothed unto your enemy. Divorce me, untie, or break that knot again. Take me to you, imprison me, for I, except you enthrall me, never shall be free, nor ever chaste, except you ravish me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Immortality by Matthew Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Boris Greff. Immortality. Foiled by our fellow men, depressed, outworn, we leave the brutal world to take its way, and patience, in another life, we say, the world shall be thrust down, and we upborne. And will not then the immortal army scorn the world's poor, routed leavings, or will they, who failed under the heat of this life's day, support the fervours of the heavenly morn? No, no. The energy of life may be kept on after the grave, but not begun. And he who flagged not in the earthly strife, from strength to strength advancing, only he, his soul well knit and all his battles won, mounts, and that hardly, to eternal life. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I saw the sun at midnight, rising red, by Joseph Mary Plunkett. Read for LibriVox.org, by Thomas Peter. I saw the sun at midnight, rising red, deep-hued yet glowing, heavy with the stain of blood compassion, and I saw it gain swiftly in size, and growing till it spread over the stars. The heavens bowed their head, as from its heart slow dripped a crimson rain. Then a great tremor shook it, as of pain. The night fell, moaning, as it hung there dead. O Son, O Christ, O bleeding heart of flame, thou giv'st thine agony as our life's worth, and mak'st it infinite, lest we have dearth of rights wherewith to call upon thy name. Thou pawnest heaven as a pledge for earth, and for our glory sufferest all shame. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Amanda Wills. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft when on my couch I'd lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills, and dances with the daffodils. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Kapiolani by John Oxenham. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Where the great green combers break and thunder on the barrier reefs, where unceasing sounds the mighty diapason of the deep, ringed in bursts of wild wave laughter, ringed in leagues of flying foam, long lagoons of soft azure, curving beaches white as snow, lap in sweetness and in beauty all the isles of Hawaii. Land more lovely sun ne'er shone on than these isles of Hawaii. Spendthrift nature's wild profusion fashioned them like fairy bowers. Yet behind, below the sweetness, underneath the passion flowers, lurked grim deeds and things of horror, grisly deaths and ceaseless fears, fears and deaths that walked in darkness, grisly deaths and ceaseless fears. On the slope of Mauna Loa, in the pit of Kilauea, in the lake of molten lava, in the sea of living fire, in the place of ceaseless burnings, in her home of wrath and terror, dwelt the dreadful goddess Pele, Pele of the lake of fire, Pele of the place of torment, Pele of the lake of fire. In the dim, far-off beginnings, Pele flung the islands up from the bottom of the ocean, from the darksome underworld, built them for a house to dwell in, built them for herself alone. So she claimed them, and their people claimed them as her very own, and they feared her, and they worshipped Pele, the remorseless one. But at times when she lay sleeping underneath the lake of fire, they forgot to do her reverence, they forgot the fiery one. Then in wrath the goddess thundered from the lake of ceaseless burnings, flamed and thundered in her anger, till the very skies were red, poured black rain on the island, shook it to its rocky bed. Then in fear the people trembled, and bethought them of their sins. And the great high priest of Pele came like death down Mauna Loa, came to soothe the awful goddess, came to choose the sacrifice, chose the fairest youth or maiden, pointed with a deadly finger, led them weeping up the mountain, victims to the lake of fire. On the snowy beach of coral, youths and maidens full of laughter, flower bedecked and full of laughter, sported gaily in the sun. Up above the slender palm trees swung and shivered in the trade wind, all around them flowers and spices, red hibiscus, sweet pandanus, and behind the laboring mountain groaned and growled unceasingly. Sea and sunshine, care as moonshine, all our hearts are light with laughter. We are free as sun and sea, what care we for what comes after? Bride. Life was sweet before love found her. In his fairy bowers life is sweeter and completer, since he found her there and crowned her with his fadeless flowers. Bridegroom. Love sought long before he found her, ne'er was love like ours. Long he sought her ere he caught her, but he found her there and bound her with his fadeless flowers. Gaily sporting, pleasure courting, naught know we of care or sorrow. We are free as sun and sea, what care we what comes tomorrow? Louder, still louder, Pele roars within her lake of fire, and the youths and maidens trembling look in fear up Mauna Loa, dreading sight of that grim figure stalking down the mountainside. For when Pele claims her victims, none the summons may avoid. Pele calls for whom she chooses goes and dies. See, he comes. They start in terror. There along the mountainside death comes stalking, slowly, surely. Pele must be satisfied. Which among them will he summon with his dreadful pointing finger? All their hearts become as water, all their faces blanch with fear. Deaths they suffer in the waiting, while dread death draws near. Now he stands in dreadful menace, seeking with a baleful eye for the sweetest and the fairest, for the meetest sacrifice. Choose, oh choose, they cry in terror, choose your victim and be gone, for we each die deaths while waiting, till dread Pele's choice be known. Choose your victim, priest of Pele, choose your victim and be gone. Slowly points the dreadful finger, marks the newly wedded bride. All the rest, save one, fall from her, as the living from the dead. From the first of time's beginnings, Pele ne'er has been gainsayed. Pele chooses whom she chooses. Each and all the choice abide, for the common good and safety. Pele must be satisfied. Still the mountain reels and shudders, still the awful thunders peal. Like a snake the ruthless finger holds them all in terror still. One is there whose life is broken, parted from his chosen bride. But the threatening finger, heedless of the lives it may divide, lights upon a tiny maiden. Pele must be satisfied. Slow, the grim high priest of Pele turns to climb the mountainside. Slow, the victims turn and follow. Pele must be satisfied. And the rest shrink, dumb and helpless, daring not to lift an eye. And beyond, the laboring mountain cracks and belches living fires, till the island reels and shudders at dread Pele's agonies. But a greater one than Pele walked the mountainside that day. To them, climbing dumb and dim-eyed, like a flash of heavenly flame, swift and bright as saving angel, fair Kapiolani came. Swiftly as a saving angel, gleaming like a heavenly flame, thirsting like a sword for battle, fair Kapiolani came. Radiant with the faith of martyrs, aglow with new-born zeal, burning to release the people from the bondage and the thrall, from the deadly thrall of Pele, from the ever-threatening doom, from the everlasting menace, from the awful lake of fire, like a bright avenging angel, fair Kapiolani came. Hear me now, you priests of Pele, and ye men of Oahi. Hearken, ye who cringe and tremble at the sound of Kilauea, fearful of the wrath of Pele, fearful of the lake of fire. Priest, I say there is no Pele. Pele is not, never was. Pele lives but in your legends. There is only one true God. Cursed, thrice accursed, you who thus great Pele do defy. Here upon her sacred mountain of surety you shall die. Pele, mighty Pele, vengeance! Strike her with thy dreadful doom. So let every scoffer perish. Pele, 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 come! And Kapiolani answered, Pele, 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 come! Loud the mountain roared and thundered, shuddered all who heard and saw. Dauntless stood Kapiolani, dauntless with her faithful few. Come, she cried again, come, Pele, smite me with thy dreadful doom. I am waiting, mighty Pele. Pele, 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 come! And the mountain roared and thundered, but the goddess did not come. Hearken, priest, you have deceived us. All your life has been a lie. Black your heart is, red your hands are, and with the blood of those who die. All these years you have misled us with your awful threats of doom. Now it ends. I do defy you, and your goddess I defy. Pele is not, never has been. All your worship is a lie. I will climb your sacred mountain. I will dare your lake of fire. I will eat your sacred berries. I will dare your goddess there. There and then to wreak her vengeance, then and there to come in fire, and with awful burnings end me, now and for eternity. But if Pele does not end me, then her worship ends this day. Then the great high priest Pele turned to fiery Kilauea. Come, he said, the goddess calls you. And they climbed the mountainside, up the slopes of Mauna Loa to the hell of Kilauea, with the bright blue skies above them and the blazing sun above them, while the mountain shook beneath them and its head was wrapped in fire. Fearful, hopeful, all the people crept along the shaking path, hardly breathing at their daring, thus to brave dread Pele's wrath. Bending low, lest she should see them, breathing soft, lest she should hear. Certain that Kapiolani would be sacrificed that day, to the vengeance of the goddess, to the anger of Pele. As little child on mother's breast, O rest, my heart, have rest. Who rests on him is surely blessed. So rest, my heart, have rest. As warrior bold his foes among, be strong, my heart, be strong. Who rests on him shall ne'er go wrong. Be strong, my heart, be strong. Thus Kapiolani, dauntless, singing softly as she went, with a face as calm and fearless as a child on pleasure bent, climbed the side of Mauna Loa to the dreadful lake of fire. While the mountain shook and thundered, while the people blanched and shuddered, climbed to Halemaumau, to the dreadful lake of fire. All the people waited, trembling, stood afar off, pale and trembling, while Kapiolani, fearless, climbed up to the lake of fire, with the fiery glow all round her, with a heavenly light about her, shining with a radiance brighter than since time began had shone from the lake of ceaseless burnings, from the dreadful lake of fire. "Here, here," she cried, "I pluck your berries, Pele. I give you none. See, I eat your sacred berries, Pele, and I give you none. Pele, here I break your taboos. Come with all your dreadful fires. Burn me, Pele. I defy you. Pele, 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 come. Come now, Pele, or forever own that you are overcome." Pele comes not. Is she sleeping? Is she wandering today? Is she busy with her burnings? Has the goddess naught to say? Hear me, friends. There is no Pele. One true God alone there is. His this mountain, His these burnings, you and I and all things, His. Goodness, mercy, loving kindness, life eternal, all are His. From this day let no man tremble when he feels the mountain shake. From this day no man or maiden shall be killed for Pele's sake. From this day we break the thraldom of the dreadful lake of fire. From this day we pass forever from the scourge of Pele's rod. From this day thou, Lord Jehovah, be our one and only God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Life in Death by Sarah N. Curzon. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Life in Death. On her pale bier the baby lay, and healthy children from their play with tiptoe awe and bated breath came gently in to look on death. One touched the flowers that decked the bier, another dropped a little tear, one stroked the cheek so waxy white, and one cowered weeping with affright. But one fair boy won life from death by that quick faith that childhood hath, and cried with gaze past present things, "Perhaps baby's trying her new wings." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Man Who Thinks He Can by Walter D. Wintle. Read for LibriVox.org. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win but think you can't, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost, for out in the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outcast, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
New York by Arthur Cravan. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. The rhythm of the ocean cradles the transatlantics, and while the heroic express arriving at Havre whistles into the air, where the gases dance like tops, the athletic sailors advance like bears. New York! New York! I should like to inhabit you. I see their science married to industry in an audacious modernity. And in the palaces, globes, dazzling to the retina by their ultraviolet rays, the American telephone, and the softness of elevators. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Night Journey by Rupert Brooke. Read for LibriVox.org. Hands, antlered faces added to a line. The dazed last minutes click. The clamor dies. Beyond the great swung arc of the roof, divine, night, smoky scarved, with thousand-colored eyes, glares the imperious mystery of the way. Thirsty for dark, you feel the long-limbed train throb, stretch, thrill motion, slide, pull out and sway, strain for the far, pause, draw to strength again, as a man, caught by some great hour, will rise, slow-limbed, to meet the light or find his love. And, breathing long, with staring sightless eyes, hands out, head back, agape and silent, move sure as a flood, smooth as a vast wind blowing, and gathering power and purpose as he goes, unstumbling, unreluctant, strong, unknowing, borne by a will not his, that lifts, that grows, sweep out to darkness, triumphing in his goal, out of the fire, out of the little room. There is an end appointed, O my soul, crimson and green the signals burn, the gloom is hung with steam's far-blowing livid streamers. Lost into God as lights in light we fly, grown one with will, and drunken huddled dreamers. The white lights roar, the sounds of the world die, and lips and laughter are forgotten things. Speed sharpens, grows, into the night and on, the strength and splendor of our purpose swings, the lamps fade, and the stars. We are alone. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the Farm by Madison Kawine. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. He sang a song as he sowed the field at break of day, when the pursed-up leaves are as lips that yield balm and balsam and spring, concealed in the odorous green, is so revealed. Halloo and oh! Hallo for the woods and the far away. He trilled a song as he mowed the mead as noon begun, when the hills are gold with the ripened seed, as the sunset stairs that loom and lead to the sky, where summer knows naught of need. Halloo and oh! Hallo for the hills and the harvest sun. He hummed a song as he swung the flail in the afternoon, when the idle fields are a wrecker's tale that the autumn tells to the twilight pale, as the year turns seaward a crimson sail. Halloo and oh! Hallo for the fields and the hunter's moon. He whistled a song as he shouldered his axe in the evening storm, when the snow of the road shows the rabbit's tracks, and the wind is a whip that the winter cracks, with a herdsman's cry o'er the clouds' black backs. Halloo and oh! Hallo for home and a hearth to warm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On Time by John Milton. Read for LibriVox.org by Christopher Davis. Fly, envious time, till thou run out thy race. Call on the lazy leaden-stepping hours, whose speed is but the heavy plummet's pace, and glut thyself with what thy womb devours, which is no more than what is false and vain, and merely mortal dross. So little is our loss, so little is thy gain. For when as each thing bad thou hast entombed, and last of all thy greedy self consumed. Then long eternity shall greet our bliss with an eternal kiss, and joy shall overtake us as a flood, when everything that is sincerely good and perfectly divine, with truth and peace and love shall ever shine, about the supreme throne of Him to whose happy-making sight alone, when once our heavenly guided soul shall climb, then all this earthy grossness quit, attired with stars we shall forever sit, triumphing over death and chance and thee, old time. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Paris, a Poem by Hope Mirrlees, read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. À Notre-Dame de Paris en reconnaissance de grâces accordées. I want a hollow phrase. Nord, sud, zigzag, lion noir, cacao, blue care, black-figured vases in Etruscan tombs, Rue de Bac, Dubonnet, Solferino, Dubonnet, Chambre des députés, Breck, ek, coax, we are passing under the Seine, Dubonnet. The Scarlet Woman shouting brrrr and deafening St. John at Patmos. Vous descendez, madame? Que souvent soupiez, bien se connaît, qui bien se connaît, bien se porte. Concorde. I can't. I must go slowly. The Tuileries are in a trance because the painters have stared at them so long. Little boys in black overalls whose hands, sticky with play, are like the newly furled leaves of the horse-chestnuts, ride round and round on wooden horses till their heads turn. Pigeons perch on statues and are turned to stone. L'Oedipe per Sitya. These nymphs are harmless, fear not their soft mouths. Some Pasteur made the gulls immune against the bite of nymphs. Look. Gambetta, a red stud in the buttonhole of his frock-coat. The obscene conjugal tutoiement. Mais c'est logique. The esprit français is leaning over him, whispering secrets, exquisite, significant, fade, plastic. Of the 13th Duchess of Alba, long as the Eiffel Tower, fathoms deep in hashish, with languid compelling finger pointing invisible magi to a little white Maltese. The background grey and olive green like Le Midi, the Louvre, La Seine. Of ivory paper knives, a lion carved on the handle. Lysistrata had one, but the workmanship of these is empire. I see the Arc de Triomphe, square and shadowy like Julius Caesar's dreams. Scorn the laws of solid geometry, step boldly into the wall of the Sulkebeau, and on and on. I hate the Étoile, the Bois bores me. Tortoises with gem-encrusted carapace, a Roman boy picking a thorn out of his foot, a flock of discalciated Madame Récamée moaning for the Chateaubriand de Nogeux. And yet, quite near saunters the ancient Rue Saint-Honorat, shabby and indifferent, as a grand seigneur from Brittany an Auvergnat, all the mountains of Auvergne in every chestnut that he sells. Paris is a huge homesick peasant. He carries 1,000 villages in his heart. Hidden courts, with fawns in very low relief, piping among lotuses, and creepers grown on trellises, are secret valleys where little gods are born. One often hears a cock, do-do-do-me. He cannot sing of towns. Old Hesiod's ghost with leisure to be melancholy, amid the timeless idleness of Acheron, yearning for works and days. Hark! The lovely spirit of the year is stiff and stark, laid out in acres of brown fields, the crisp, straight lines of his archaic drapery well chiselled by the plough. And there are pretty things, children hung with amulets playing at pigeons, red roofs, blue smocks, and jolly saints. Oh, bon marché, actuellement, toilette, printanier. The jeunesse dorée of the sycamores. In the churches during Lent, Christ and the saints are shrouded in mauve veils. Far away in gardens, crocuses. Cyanodoxa, the princess in a Serbian fairy tale. Then, the goldsmith's chef d'oeuvre, lily of the valley. Soon, dog roses will stare at gypsies, wains, and pilgrimages, all the time. Scentless Lyon roses. Icy, plastic, named after wives of mayors. Did Ingres paint a portrait of Madame Jacquemart-André? In the Louvre, the Pieta of Avignon, Lerlampe, Gilles, Montaigne's 7 deadly sins, the Chardin, they arise, serene and uneteliolated, one by one from their subterranean sleep of 5 long years. Like Duncan, they slept well. President Wilson grins like a dog and runs about the city, sniffing with innocent enjoyment the diluvial urine of Gargantua. The poplar buds are golden chrysalids. The ballet of green butterflies will soon begin. During the cyclic grand guignol of Catholicism, shrieks, lacerations, bloody sweat, Le petit Jésus fait pipi. Lilac. Spring is Solomon's little sister. She has no breasts. Les supérieurs de la femme de Rambouillet. Ici, on consulte les boutons, charcuterie comestible de hiérarchoix. Apéritif. Aliment diabétique, doyen 24 heures. Messieurs, dames, little temples of Mercury. The circumference of their templum, a nice sense of scale. A golden drop of Apagos blood, preserved from impious widening. Great bunches of lilac among siphons, vermouth, box tobacco. Messieurs et dames, ne fermez pas la porte, s'il vous plaît. Le primo s'en changera. At marble tables sit ouvriers in blue linen suits discussing la journée des 8 heures, whether l'ombre is a sadiste. The learned seal at the Nouveau Circle Coton. Echoes of Bossuet chanting dead queens. Meticula, belligera, abdomada, imom. The Roman legions, winged, invisible, fight their last fight in Gaul. The ghost of Père Lachaise is walking the streets. He is draped in a black curtain embroidered with the letter H. He is hung with paper wreaths. He is beautiful and horrible, and the close friend of Rousseau, the official of the Toine. The unities are smashed, the stage is thick with corpses. Kind, clever Gaillard, their idler in hideous frames inset with the brass motto, Mort au champ d'honneur, and little widows moaning, Le pauvre grand, la pauvre grand, and petty bourgeois with tight lips and strident voices are counting out the change and saying, Monsieur Adam, and their hearts are the ruined province of Picardy. They are not like us, who, ghoul-like, bury our friends a score of times before they're dead, but never, never again will the Marne flow between happy banks. It is pleasant to sit on the Grand Boulevard. They smell of cloacae, hot India rubber, poudre de riz, Algerian tobacco. Monsieur Jourdan in the blue and red of the Zouave is premier danseur in the ballet turc. Yabon, Mamamouchi. Yankees, and say besides that in Aleppo once, many a Mardi Gras and Karim Prunier of the Peace Carnival, crepe veils, mouths pursed up with lip salve as if they had just said, Chocolat. Elle se balance sous les hanches. Lizard eyes, Assyrian beards, boots with cloth tops. The tart little race, whose brain, the Arabs said, was one of the 3 perches of the spirit of God. Oui, 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 c'est y passionnant, où on apporte son argent. Le fromage n'est pas un plat logique. Ah, oui, c'est un délicieux garçon. Il me semble que toute femme sensée doit s'en retrouver en Anna Karenine. Never the catalepsy of the Teuton. What time? Subaqueous, cell on cell. Experience, very slowly, is forming up into something beautiful, awful, huge. The coming to. Thick, halting speech, the curse of vastness. The 1st of May, there is no lily of the valley. There was a ritual fight for her sweet body between 2 virgins, Mary and the moon, the wicked April moon. The silence of La Grève. Rain. The Louvre is melting into mist. It will soon be transparent, and through it will glimmer the mysterious island gardens of the Place du Carrousel. The Seine, old egotist, meanders imperturbably towards the sea, ruminating on weeds and rain. If through his sluggish, watery sleep come dreams, they are the blue ghosts of kingfishers. The Eiffel Tower is 2-dimensional, etched on thick white paper. Poilu, in Wedgwood blue, with bundles terre du sien, are camping round the grey sphinx of the Tuileries. They look as if a war artist were making a sketch of them in chalks to be edited in the Rue des Pyramides at 10 francs a copy. Désouvrement, apprehension. Vronsky and Anna starting up in separate beds in a cold sweat, reading calamity in the same dream of a gigantic sinister moujik. Whatever happens, some day it will look beautiful. Clio is a great French painter. She walks upon the waters and they are still. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stand motionless and plastic mid the flames. Manet's Massacre des Jeux de Juin, David's Prise de la Bastille, Pousson's Fronde hang in a quiet gallery. All this time the Virgin has not been idle. The windows of Les Galeries Lafayette, Les Bon Marches, Le Samaritain hold holy bait, waxen Pandoras in white veils and ties of her own decking. Catechisme des Persévérances, the decrees of the 7 ecumenical councils reduced to the format of the Bibliothèque Rose. Première Communion. Prometheus has swallowed the bait. Petit Lycéen. Pornographie. Charming pygmy brides. Little Saint Hugh avenged. The children eat the Jew. Photo midget. Hi-ho, I wade knee-deep in dreams, heavy sweet-going as through a field of hay in Périgueux. The Louvre, the Ritz, the Palais Royal, the Hôtel de Ville are light and frail, plaster pavilions of pleasure, set up to serve the 10 days' junketing of citizens in masks and dominoes. À l'occasion du mariage de Monseigneur le Dauphin. From the top floor of an old hôtel, tranced, I gaze down at the narrow Rue des Baumes. Hawkers chant their wares liturgically. Hatless women in black shawls carry long loaves. Triptolemus in swaddling clothes. Workmen in pale blue. Barrows of vegetables. Busy dogs. They come and go. They are very small. Stories. The lost romance, penned by some Ovid, an unwilling thrall in fairyland, no one knows its name. It was the guild secret of the Italian painters. They spent their lives in illustrating it. The Chinese village in a genius's mind. Little, funny things ceaselessly happening. In the Ile Saint-Louis, in the Rue Saint-Antoine, in the Place des Vosges, the 17th century lies, exquisitely dying. Hush. Dim in you and do. In the parish of Saint-Thomas-d'Aquin, there is an alley called l'Impasse des Deux Anges. Houses with rows of impassive windows. They are like blind dogs. The only things that they can see are ghosts. Hark to the small dry voice as of an old nun chanting masses for the soul of a brother killed at Sebastopol. Molia amo dans cette maison, le 17 février 1673. Voltaire à mort dans cette maison le 30 mai 1778. Chateaubriand à mort dans cette maison Le 4 Juillet 1848. That is not all. Paradise cannot hold for long the famous dead of Paris. Derrière les Champs-Élysées, Sainte-Beuve, a tight bouquet in his hand for Madame Victor Hugo, passes on the Pont Neuf, the Duc de la Rochefoucauld, with a superbly leisurely gait, making for the Salon d'Automne of Madame de Lafayette. They cannot see each other. Il falloir. The dreams have reached my waist. We went to benediction in Notre-Dame des Champs. Droning. The Virgin sits in her garden. She wears the blue habit and the winged linen headdress of the nuns of Saint Vincent de Paul. The Holy Ghost coos in his dovecot. The 7 stages of the cross are cut in box. Lilies bloom. Blue, green, and pink. The bulbs were votive offerings from a converted Jap. An angelic troubadour sings her songs of little venial sins. Upon the wall of sunset sky wasps never fret the plums of paradise. La liberté la presse, la liberté la presse. The sun is sinking behind Le Petit Palais. In the Algerian desert they are shouting the Koran. La liberté la presse. The sky is apricot. Against it there pass across the Pont Solferino fiacres, and little people all black. Flies nibbling the celestial apricot. That one with broad-brimmed hat and tippeted pelisse must be a priest. They are black and 2-dimensional and look like silhouettes of Louis Philippe citizens. All down the quay, the bouquinistes shut their green boxes. From the 7e arrondissement, night like a vampire sucks all colour, all sound. The winds are sleeping in their Hyperborean cave. The narrow streets bend proudly to the stars. From time to time a taxi hoots like an owl. But behind the ramparts of the Louvre, Freud has dredged the river and, grinning horribly, waves his garbage in a glare of electricity. Taxis, taxis, taxis. They moan and yell and squeak like 1,000 tomcats in rut. The whores, like lions, are seeking their meat from God. An English padre tilts with the Moulin Rouge. Crotchets and quavers have the heads of niggers and they writhe in obscene syncopation. Toutes les 4 mochées avec une allumette. 100 lenses refracting the mask of the 7 deadly sins for American astigmatism. I don't like the girls of the nightclub. They love women. Tous les 4 mochées avec une allumette. Dawn. Verline's bedtime. Alchemy, absinthe, Algerian tobacco, talk, 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 manuring the white violets of the moon. The President of the Republic lies in bed beside his wife, and it may be at this very moment. In the Abbaye of Port-Royal babies are being born. Perhaps someone who cannot sleep is reading Le Crime, Le Châtiment. The sun is rising. Soon Les Halles will open. The sky is saffron behind the 2 towers of Notre Dame. Je vous salue Paris plein de grâce. 3 Rue de Beaune, Paris. Spring 1919. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Paths by Madison Cowine. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. What words of mine can tell the spell of garden ways I know so well? The path that takes me in the spring past quinces where the bluebirds sing, where peonies are blossoming, onto a porch wisteria hung, around whose steps May lilies blow. A fair girl reaches down among, her arm more white than their sweet snow. What words of mine can tell the spell of garden ways I know so well? Another path that leads me, when the summertime is here again, past hollyhocks that shame the west, when the red sun has sunk to rest, to roses bowering a nest, a lattice, 'neath which mignonette and deep geraniums surge and sough, where in the twilight, starless yet, a fair girl's eyes are stars enough. What words of mine can tell the spell of garden ways I know so well? A path that takes me when the days of autumn wrap themselves in haze, beneath the pippin-pelting tree, mid flitting butterfly and bee, unto a door where fiery the creeper climbs, and garnet-hued the coxcomb and the dahlia flare, and in the door where shades intrude gleams out a fair girl's sunbeam hair. What words of mine can tell the spell of garden ways I know so well? A path that brings me o'er the frost of winter, when the moon is tossed in clouds, beneath great cedars weak with shaggy snow, past shrubs blown bleak with shivering leaves, to eaves that leak the tattered ice, whereunder is a fire-flickering window space, and in the light with lips to kiss a fair girl's welcome-giving face. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Penmaenmawr by Branwell Bronte. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. These winds, these clouds, this chill November storm, bring back again thy tempest-beaten form to eyes that look upon yon dreary sky, as late they looked on thy sublimity, when I, more troubled than thy restless sea, found in its waves companionship with thee. Mid mist thou frownedst over Arvon's shore, mid tears I watched thee over ocean's roar, and thy blue front, by thousand storms laid bare, claimed kindred with a heart worn down by care. No smile hadst thou o'er smiling fields aspiring, and none had I, from smiling fields retiring. Blackness mid sunlight tinged thy slaty brow, I, mid sweet music, looked as dark as thou. Old Scotland's song, o'er murmuring surges borne, of times departed, never to return, was echoed back in mournful tones from thee, and found an echo quite as sad in me. Waves, clouds, and shadows moved in restless change, around, above, and on thy rocky range, but seldom saw that sovereign front of thine changes more quick than those which passed o'er mine. And as wild winds in human hands at length have turned to scattered stones the mighty strength of that old fort, whose belt of boulders gray Roman or Saxon legions held at bay, So had, methought, the young, unshaken nerve, that, when will wished, no doubt could cause to swerve, that on its vigour ever placed reliance, that to its sorrows sometimes bade defiance. Now left my spirit, like thyself, old hill, with head defenceless against human ill. And, as thou long hast looked upon the wave that takes but gives not, like a churchyard grave, I, like life's course, through ether's weary range, never know rest from ceaseless strife and change. But, Penmaenmawr, a better fate was thine, through all its shades, than that which darkened mine. No quick thoughts thrilled through thy gigantic mass of woe for what might be, or is, or was. Thou hadst no memory of the glorious hour when Britain rested on thy giant power. Thou hadst no feeling for the verdant slope that leant on thee, as man's heart leads on hope. The pastures, checkered o'er with cot and tree, though thou wert guardian, got no smile from thee. Old ocean's wrath their charms might overwhelm, but thou couldst still keep thy unshaken realm. While I felt flashes of an inward feeling, as fierce as those thy craggy form revealing, in nights of blinding gleams, when deafening roar hurls back thy echo to old Mona's shore. I knew a flower, whose leaves were meant to bloom, till death should snatch it to adorn a tomb. Now, blanching 'neath the blight of hopeless grief, with never blooming and yet living leaf, a flower on which my mind would wish to shine, if but one beam could break from mind like mine. I had an ear which could on accents dwell, that might as well say, perish, as farewell. An eye which saw, far off, a tender form, beaten, unsheltered, by affliction's storm, an arm, a lip, that trembled to embrace my angel's gentle breast and sorrowing face, a mind that clung to Uza's fertile side, while tossing, objectless, on Mina's tide. O soul, that draw'st yon mighty hill in me into communion of vague unity, tell me, can I obtain the stony brow that fronts the storm, as much unbroken now, as when it once upheld the fortress proud, now gone, like its own morning clap of cloud? Its breast is stone. Can I have one of steel? To endure, inflict, defend, yet never feel? It stood as firm when haughty Edward's word gave hill and dale to England's fire and sword, as when white sails and steam smoke track the sea, and all the world breathes peace, but waves in me. Let me, like it, arise o'er mortal care, all woes sustain, yet never know despair. Unshrinking face the grief I now deplore, and stand, through storm and shine, like moveless Penmaenmawr. End a poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Philosopher by Emily Bronte. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. Enough of thought, philosopher. Too long hast thou been dreaming, unlightened in this chamber drear, while summer sun is beaming. Space-sweeping soul, what sad refrain concludes thy musings once again? Oh, for the time when I shall sleep without identity, and never care how rain may steep or snow may cover me. No promised heaven these wild desires could all or half fulfill. No threatened hell with quenchless fires subdue this quenchless will. So, said I, and still say the same, still to my death will say, 3 gods within this little frame are warring night and day. Heaven could not hold them all, and yet they all are held in me, and must be mine till I forget my present entity. Oh, for the time when in my breast their struggles will be o'er. Oh, for the day when I shall rest and never suffer more. I saw a spirit standing, man, where thou dost stand an hour ago, and round his feet 3 rivers ran, of equal depth and equal flow, a golden stream, and one like blood, and one like sapphire seemed to be, but where they joined their triple flood it tumbled in an inky sea. The spirit sent his dazzling gaze down through that ocean's gloomy night, then kindling all with sudden blaze, the glad deep sparkled wide and bright. White as the sun, far, far more fair than its divided sources were. And even for that spirit seer I've watched and sought my lifetime long, sought him in heaven, hell, earth, and air, in endless search and always wrong. Had I but seen his glorious eye once light the clouds that wilder me, I ne'er had raised this coward cry to cease to think and cease to be. I ne'er had called oblivion blest, nor stretching eager hands to death, implored to change for senseless rest this sentient soul, this living breath. Oh, let me die, that power and will their cruel strife may close, and conquered good and conquering ill be lost in one repose. End a poem. This recording is in the public domain. Real Rest by Branwell Bronte. Read for LibriVox.org by Nemo. I see a corpse upon the waters lie, with eyes turned, swelled and sightless to the sky, and arms outstretched to move, as wave on wave upbears it in its boundless billowy grave. Not time, but ocean, thins its flowing hair. Decay, not sorrow, lays its forehead bare. Its members move, but not in thankless toil, for seas are milder than this world's turmoil. Corruption robs its lips and cheeks of red, but wounded vanity grieves not the dead. And though those members hasten to decay, no pang of suffering takes their strength away. With untormented eye and heart and brain, through calm and storm it floats across the main. Though love and joy have perished long ago, its bosom suffers not one pang of woe. The weeds and worms its cherished beauty hide, feels not wounded vanity nor pride. Though journeying toward some far-off shore, it needs no care nor gold to float it o'er. Though launched in voyage for eternity, it need not think upon what is to be. Though naked, helpless, and companionless, it feels not poverty, nor knows distress. Ah, corpse, if thou couldst tell my aching mind what scenes of sorrow thou hast left behind, how sad the life which, breathing, thou hast led, how free from strife thy sojourn with the dead. I would assume thy place, would long to be a world-wide wanderer o'er the waves with thee. I have a misery where thou hast none. My heart beats bursting, whilst thine lies like stone. My veins throb wild, whilst thine are dead and dry. And woes, not waters, dim my restless eye. Thou longest not with one well-loved to be, and absence does not break a chain with thee. No sudden agonies dart through thy breast. Thou hast what all men covet, real rest. I have an outward frame, unlike to thine, warm with young life, not cold in death's decline, an eye that sees the sunny light of heaven, a heart by pleasure thrilled, by anguish riven. But, in exchange for thy untroubled calm, thy gift of cold oblivion's healing balm, I'd give my youth, my health, my life to come, and share thy slumbers in thy ocean tomb. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Recuerdo by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. We were very tired. We were very merry. We had gone back and forth all night on the ferry. It was bare and bright and smelled like a stable. But we looked into a fire. We leaned across a table. We lay on a hilltop underneath the moon, and the whistles kept blowing, and the dawn came soon. We were very tired. We were very merry. We had gone back and forth all night on the ferry, and you ate an apple, and I ate a pear from a dozen of each we had bought somewhere, and the sky went wan, and the wind came cold, and the sun rose dripping, a bucket full of gold. We were very tired. We were very merry. We had gone back and forth all night on the ferry. We hailed, "Good morrow, mother," to a shawl-covered head, and bought a morning paper, which neither of us read, and she wept, "God bless you," for the apples and the pears, and we gave her all our money but our subway fares. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Remembered Light by Clark Ashton Smith. Read for LibriVox.org by Colleen McMahon. The years are a falling of snow, slow but without cessation, on hills and mountains and flowers and worlds that were. But snow and the crawling night in which it fell may be washed away in one swifter hour of flame. Thus it was that some slant of sunset, in the chasms of piled cloud, transient mountains that made a new horizon, uplifting the west to fantastic pinnacles, smote warm in a buried realm of the spirit till the snows of forgetfulness were gone. Clear in the vistas of memory, the peaks of a world long unremembered soared further than clouds but fell not, based on hills that shook not nor melted. With that burden enormous, hardly to be believed, rent with stupendous chasms, full of an umber twilight, I beheld that larger world. Bright was the twilight, sharp like ethereal wine above, but low in the clefts it thickened, dull as with duskier tincture. Like whimsical wings outspread but unstirring, flowers that seemed spirits of the twilight, that must pass with its passing, too fragile for day or for darkness, fed the dusk with more delicate hues than its own. Stars that were nearer, more radiant than ours, quivered and pulsed in the clear thin gold of the sky. These things I beheld, till the gold was shaken with flight of fantastical wings like broken shadows, forerunning the darkness, till the twilight shivered with outcry of eldritch voices, like pain's last cry ere oblivion. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Second Sight by Madison Kawine. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. They lean their faces to me through green windows of the woods, their white throats sweet with honey dew, beneath low leafy hoods. No dream they dream, but hath been true, here in the solitudes. Star Trillium in the underbrush, in whom spring bears her face, sun eglantine that breathes the blush of summer's quiet grace, moon mallow, in whom lives the hush of autumn's tragic pace. For one hath heard the dryad's sighs behind the covering bark, and one hath felt the satyr's eyes gleam in the bosky dark, and one hath seen the naiad rise in waters all a-spark. I bend my soul unto them, stilled in worship man hath lost. The old world myths that science killed are living things, almost, to me, through these whose forms are filled with beauty's pagan ghost. And through new eyes I seem to see the world these live within, a shuttered world of mystery, where unreal forms begin, the real of ideality that has no unreal kin. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Son of Melancholy by Walter de la Mare. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Unto blest Melancholy's house one happy day I took my way. Into a chamber was shown, whence could be seen her flowerless garden, dyed with sunlit green of myrtle, box, and bay. Cool were its walls, shade-mottled green and gold. In heavy fold hung antique tapestries, from whose fruit and flower light and the bright hues stolen hour by hour, and time-worn, thin and old. Silence, as of a virginal laid aside, did there abide. But not for voice or music was I fain, only to see a long-loved face again, for her sole company sighed. And while I waited, giving memory praise, my musing gaze lit on the one sole picture in the room, which hung as if in hiding in the gloom from evening's stealing rays. Framed in fast-fading gilt, a child gazed there, lovely and fair, a face whose happiness was like sunlit spent on some poor desolate soul in banishment, mutely his grief to share. Long, long I stood in trance of that glad face, striving to trace the semblance that, disquieting, it bore to one whom memory could not restore, nor fix in time and space. Sunk deep in brooding thus, a voice I heard whisper its word. I turned, and stooping in the threshold stood she, the dark mistress of my solitude, who smiled nor stirred. Her ghostly gaze darkly from her pondering eyes, charged with surmise, challenging mine, between mockery and fear, she breathed her greeting, "Thou, my only dear, wherefore such heavy sighs?" But this, one instant lids her scrutiny veiled, her wan cheek paled. "This child?" I asked. "Its picture brings to mind remembrance faint and far, past thought to find, and yet by time unstaled." Smiling aloof, she turned her narrow head. "Make thou my face thy glass," she cried, and said, "What wouldst thou see therein, thine own or mine? O foolish one, what wonder thou didst pine? Long thou hast loved me, yet hast absent been. See now, dark night hath pressed an entrance in. Jealous, thou dear? Nay, come, by taper's beam share thou this pictured joy with me, though not but a dream." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Spider by William Ellery Channing, 1817 to 1901. Read for LibriVox.org. The Spider. Habitant of castle gray, creeping thing in sober way, visible sage mechanician, skilfullest arithmetician, aged animal at birth, wanting joy and idle mirth. clothed in famous tunic old, vestments black of many a fold, spotted mightily with gold. Weaving, spinning in the sun, since the world its course has run. Creation beautiful in art, of God's providence a part. What if none will look at thee, sighing for the humming bee, or great moth with heavenly wings, or the nightingale who sings? Curious spider, thou art to me of a mighty family. Tender of a mystic loom, weaving in my silent room, canopy that haply vies with the mortal fabric wise. Everlasting procreator, ne'er was such a generator. Adam wondered at thy skill, and thy persevering will, that continueth to spin, carry not a yellow pin, for the mortal's dire confusion. Sager in profound conclusion than astronomer at night, when he brings new worlds to light. Heaven has furnished thee with tools, such as ne'er a heap of fools have by dint of sweat and pain made for use, and made in vain. When mild breezes hither straying, sweetest music kindly playing, raising high the whispering leaves, and the covering of the sheaves, thou art rocking, airy thing, like a proud exalted king. Conqueror thou surely art, and majestical of heart. There are times of loneliness, when a living thing we bless, times of miserable sin, cold without and dark within. Then, old spider, happily I seek thy busy factory, always finding thee at home, too forecasting ere to roam. So we sit and spin together in the gayest, gloomiest weather. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
That I Did Always Love by Emily Dickinson. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. That I did always love, I bring thee proof, that till I loved, I did not love enough. That I shall love alway, I offer thee that love is life, and life hath immortality. This dost thou doubt, sweet? Then have I nothing to show but Calvary. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Very Best Zoo of All by Gaston V. Drake. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The very best zoo of all. When Daddy's made our bread for us and comes back home at night, we often have a lot of fun at playing pillow fight. And sometimes when he's not too tired and isn't feeling blue, he'll get down on the floor with me and play that he's a zoo. He'll roar and growl and shake his head as if he were a bear, and do it so it really gives my nerves a little scare. And then I climb in Mamma's lap, where I'll be safe and sound, and listen to his growling as he ambles all around. Then on a sudden he will change into a tiger bold, and make believe to bite my feet until my blood runs cold. And when he turns himself into a great long-necked giraffe, and nibbles at the chandelier, oh my, how do I laugh! And then he takes his collar off, and stretches out his throat, and shoves a sofa pillow up his back beneath his coat, and cries, "Come see the camel now, come watch him prance and jump, and don't forget to fix your eye upon that massive hump." But best of all the game is when he gets down on all fours, and tends that he's an elephant, and walks out through the doors, in search of peanuts, peering round on each and every side, for then I get aboard his back and have a jolly ride. I've been to lots of circuses, I go most every year, and see real zoos of every kind from lands both far and near. But never did I see a zoo so really out of sight as that my dear daddy is when he comes home at night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When a Lover Hies Abroad by Rudyard Kipling. Read for LibriVox.org. When a lover hies abroad, looking for his love, Azrael smiling sheathes his sword, heaven smiles above. Earth and sea his servants be, and to lesser compass round, that his love be sooner found. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
When the Army Prays for Watty by Henry Lawson. Read for LibriVox.org by Son of the Exiles. When the Army Prays for Watty. When the kindly hours of darkness, save for light of moon and star, hide the picture on the signboard over Doughty's horse bazaar, when the last rose tint is fading on the distant mulga scrub, then the Army prays for Watty at the entrance of his pub. Now I often sit at Watty's when the night is very near, with a head that's full of jingles and the fumes of bottled beer, for I always have a fancy that if I am over there, when the Army prays for Watty, I'm included in the prayer. Watty lounges in his armchair in its old accustomed place, with a fatherly expression on his round and passive face, and his arms are clasped before him in a calm, contented way, and he nods his head and dozes when he hears the Army pray. And I wonder, does he ponder on the distant years and dim, or his chances over yonder when the Army prays for him? Has he not a fear connected with the warm place down below, where, according to good Christians, all the publicans should go? But his features give no token of a feeling in his breast, save of peace that is unbroken and a conscience well at rest. And we guzzle as we guzzled long before the Army came, and the loafers wait for shouters, and they get there just the same. It would take a lot of praying, lots of thumping on the drum, to prepare our sinful, straying, erring souls for kingdom come. But I love my fellow sinners, and I hope, upon the whole, that the Army gets a hearing when it prays for Watty's soul. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Yellow Jessamine by Constance Fenimore Wilson. Read for LibriVox.org by Thomas Peter. In tangled wreaths, in clustered gleaming stars, in floating curling sprays, the golden flower comes shining through the woods these February days. Forth go all hearts, all hands, from out the town, to bring her gaily in, this wild, sweet princess of far Florida, the yellow Jessamine. The live oaks smile to see her lovely face peep from the thickets. Shy, she hides behind the leaves her golden buds, till, bolder grown, on high she curls a tendril, throws a spray, then flings herself aloft in glee, and, bursting into thousand blossoms, swings and wreathes from tree to tree. The dwarf palmetto on his knees adores this princess of the air. The lone pine barren broods afar and sighs, "Ah, come, lest I despair." The myrtle thickets and ill-tempered thorns quiver and thrill within, as through their leaves they feel the dainty touch of yellow jessamine. The garden roses wonder as they see the wreaths of golden bloom, brought in from the far woods with eager haste, to deck the poorest room, the rich man's house alike. The loaded hands give sprays to all they meet, till, gay with flowers, the people come and go, and all the air is sweet. The southern land, well weary of its green, which may not fall nor fade, bestirs itself to greet the lovely flower with leaves of fresher shade. The pine has tassels, and the orange trees their fragrant work begin. The spring has come to Florida with yellow jessamine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
You Don't Believe by William Blake. Read for LibriVox.org. You don't believe. I won't attempt to make ye. You are asleep. I won't attempt to wake ye. Sleep on, while in your pleasant dreams of reason you may drink of life's clear streams. Reason and Newton, they are quite two things, for so the swallow and the sparrow sings. Reason says miracle, Newton says doubt. Aye, that's the way to make all nature out. Doubt, and don't believe without experiment. That is the very thing that Jesus meant when he said, only believe and try. Try, and never mind the reason why. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.